Actually, I can welcome you to the iMoot, which I didn't get a chance to do last time because that was rushed as well.
Oh, thank you.
And just to say thank you for sharing your time. And there's only probably a few of us in here this time, but there's obviously quite a few last time. Um, and as I was saying, quite often the recordings are quite busy as well, so it's always a good thing. But more importantly, appreciate you just giving your time for the iMoot. And thank you. And so look forward to hearing your presentation.
Thank you. Well, good morning. At least it's morning out here in the southwest of the United States in Arizona. I see we have Dom on the line. Thank you, Dom. I appreciate you checking in with us today. It is my pleasure to be here and be a part of iMoot and this collaborative conference and sharing with what we've learned and sort of building ideas off one another, which is the reason I chose to submit to this particular conference in hopes that not only could I share what I've learned, but to learn from everyone else who is within the space and trying to use Moodle in these creative ways. So again, I'm Heidi Blair. I'm the Director of Technology for two United States Department of Education grants that reside within our Teachers College at Arizona State University in Arizona. On the slide you can see Next and Ready for Rigor, and that's the names of the grants. Uh, the project that I'm going to describe to you today, and hopefully we can elicit some conversation on collaboration, because that's one of the key points of this whole project, is called the Online Resource Center. And we've built it as a conduit for K12 and higher education collaboration and professional learning. I'm going to go a little bit into the environment in a minute, but I just wanted to let you know what I see as the outcomes for today's presentation. And I'm having trouble clicking here for some reason. It's not advancing. So let's see.
Hang on.
I, I apologize, Dom. This worked on, let's see, it worked on Monday. I can just share my screen and I have my PowerPoint up that way. Oh, we'll go this way. Thank you, Shane, for your assistance. Always good to have somebody else who's thinking with you. All right, so the goals that I have for today, and again, Dom, I'm interested in what you would like to learn as well. So if you want to type that in after I've shared mine and make sure that we cover what you'd like to, is I want you to have a thorough understanding of the online resources, and we call it the ORC for short, design, features, and tools, and that'll help you understand how we're supporting collaboration and professional learning with it. Identify variations of online collaboration. These are just some thoughts and discussions that I've been having with members of my project, and really to sort of get a feel for what you guys are thinking about these as well. Identify strategies for supporting each of these variations. Again, I'm going to share what we're doing, but equally as important is to hear from you, and Jim has just joined us, so thank you, Jim, to hear what you're doing as well to support collaboration. One of the big projects that the ORC, one of the big goals that ORC supports is the ability to support school reform, and that's a big initiative here in the United States in terms of changing the way that schools operate. And so, part of that is part of that is getting outside of ourselves within the building and collaborating between organizations, between school systems and such. And then the last goal is using Moodle to support these informal and professional learning opportunities, but also these collaboration opportunities. So from the description that you saw and the reason you joined there, Jim, Dom, is there any other reason, anything else that you'd like to get out of this session? Go ahead and type it in. I'm looking at the chat as I talk, so I can check in with that and see. I want to tell you a little bit about the Online Resource Center itself. So it's a needs-based solution, and what do I mean by that? Is that the two grants that I support we have 6 to 7 different programs that are running within the grant, and each one of those has specific activities that they are conducting. And I did a needs assessment of what it is they needed in terms of technology to support their activities. We have everything from supporting the reform of 40 courses that freshmen and sophomores take within the college, the university actually. And that was a collaboration. I'm going to talk to you about that. That's a huge collaboration, and between K12 community colleges and our university, Arizona State. So that was a big one. We also go all the way, then we go to teacher education, which is pre-service education for juniors and seniors. We have programs that are out in the school systems across the state. So we have 30 programs that operate within a school system where juniors and seniors take their classes there. So we have that collaboration, and how do we support that collaboration? We also have professional development. So we're working with the in-service teachers in leadership and helping them become better teachers and providing them with resources and answering their needs. So we offer professional development that they tell us they need. We work with them collaboratively to buy that, and then, not to buy that, we work that collaboratively to develop that, and then to bring it into fruition within the online resource center and in addition face-to-face. So we really are needs-based. What did the program say they needed? Then we came up with a solution. The solution that we wanted had to be low bandwidth. We work with a lot of rural school districts. We have several school districts up on the Navajo Nation, which is in the northeast corner of Arizona. We have reservation schools on the Apache Nation and plus other rural areas. So we needed a low bandwidth solution. We needed one that offered us high flexibility, because we knew that the needs that we had at the start of a 5-year grant were not going to be the same needs that we had at the end of a 5-year grant. So we needed it to be able to evolve. So what did we go with? We needed this open source environment and tools that allowed us to provide flexible resources to meet the needs, and it needed to be sustainable. As a university, we use Blackboard as our LMS system. That obviously would not work here. You're required to have a university login, and most of our members of the Online Resource Center are non-university staff. They're K12, they're community college folks. So we needed a support system, a venue that was not proprietary as Blackboard is. We turned to Moodle, and actually the Online Resource Center is a mashup of Moodle and Drupal. So we sort of take the Moodle LMS and wrap it around and wrap it within Drupal for a lot of our additional functionality management pieces. And just adaptable and sustainable. I talked a little bit about those two. So that's what the Online Resource Center is. Currently, we have about 3,000 members. It is member only, so it's our school districts and it's their leadership right now. We're going to add all the career teachers into it starting in about 2 weeks. So we'll go from having about 3,000 to having about 6,000 in a matter of a month members. People are coming into the Online Resource Center for specific reasons, and that's one of which is collaboration, the other is professional learning. I'm going to focus on the collaboration but show you some about what we're doing in terms of professional learning as well. So as I'm trying to organize this, I'm going to briefly pause a minute and answer a question from Jim, and I hope you two don't mind this, but I think if we can have a conversation like this, it's going to be more beneficial for you as well as for others. So Jim is asking, is Drupal and Moodle integrated together? Yes, it actually is. It's one system, and I'm going to take you into the system in a minute and show you that. So you actually at the same time are looking at Moodle inside of that Drupal interface, and I'll give you more details about that. So as we're talking about these variations on collaboration, I started thinking about them in terms of levels, but levels sort of indicate that one's better than the other if you go to a higher level, and it's really not that. It's really based on how it is in terms of about what the need is. So first of all, one form of collaborating I see as information and resource sharing. So there are specific information resources such as calendaring, documents, opportunities for registering for a workshop, and that's one form, sort of a basic form of collaboration, but yet still a form. So some folks may say, why not use a website? Well, because within Moodle, what we can do is give multiple people admin, and multiple people, both on the K12 side, the community college side, the university side, can add content to this environment. And still, we've got our restrictions into the in terms of who's a member. So that's one form. Another form of collaboration, ongoing dialogue. So that in professional learning in particular, but also when you have groups that are collaborating in terms of development of resources, they can support their synchronous conversation to this asynchronous activities, and that they're archived. So as new people join, they can read up on the past history and they can see what's going on. And then we have the collaborative development, which is, in our instance, they're developing courses together. Courses is course content for higher ed, documents, and professional learning. In terms of dialogue, for synchronous, we actually use Adobe Connect. For asynchronous, we've really focused on the discussion forums, although I am open to other ideas for that, and I'm going to show you the different ways that we've used those. But that allows us to have that both searchable but also archive versions of dialogue and the document sharing, and that's been key to us. So the Online Resource Center takes the needs, takes technology tools. In our particular instance, we're talking about Moodle because of the iMoot, but we also use a variety of other technologies that we embed within Moodle to equal the solutions that our collaborators need. And so this is just sort of the diagram, I call it my rabbit ear diagram, that describes and looks at at that piece. So if we look at the needs and the technology tools equal solutions, and information sharing, we have a couple different needs that came up, and I'm going to show you some examples of these within the space. One is we need a common source of information for groups within from different areas. We needed those to be restricted. We needed easy document sharing. We needed a calendar. So we created what we call communities. We also have groups that I see that just the top one sort of repeated here. I apologize for that. We needed easy access for people that belong to multiple groups. And then we needed one location. We have folks that are collaborating with ASU in multiple ways, and they wanted one space they could go to gather information and interact among that. So what I'm going to do right now, and it's going to take just a minute to switch over, I'm going to share my screen with you. And in doing so, I'm going to show you some spaces within the Online Resource Center. Unfortunately, while I'm sharing my screen with you, I cannot see the chat. So if you have a question, I will share the screen. I'll go back to the Adobe Connect environment so then I can answer your questions from there. So this is a login system, and in terms of the mashup, this right here, I'm pointing, so from the section of buttons, this sort of information section and text, down to the menu on the right-hand side, that's the Drupal wrapper. On the inside here in this particular area is Moodle. And so this is what we call our community layout. And the community layout is sort of that first level of collaboration, which is that information sharing, and actually the second level in continuing dialogue. In this space, everybody who's a member of the Online Resource Center can see this. There's a calendar for site-wide events that are going on. The space, the home is contextual to our space. The calendar is actually the calendar that's for the entire course, so you can see there. Forums, the different forums we have set up. News we use for announcements and that we can send emails out to all our membership. Resource section is where we just give general information, and then my calendar is an aggregate calendar. So if you could see down the right hand side, I belong to a lot of communities, and that's because I'm the administrator, so I have access to all the communities. What the My Calendar does is it aggregates all of the calendars for a specific community together. And that's a really nice piece for us because in our collaborations, we have somebody who belongs to a school district, say they're a member of the Chinle Unified School District, but they also belong to TAP, which is our Comprehensive School Reform program that we use, so they need to see access to that information. They're members of the grants, that information. So this My Calendar allows us to aggregate all their calendar events into one space. In the next rendition, we're thinking actually of doing away with the general calendar and just having the My Calendar. So in terms of layout, we have this space. We have contextual tools based on what your membership is. So we have a single sign-on access to Blackboard, to our Google Docs, ideal as a resource within the state of Arizona that we have. My ASU is actually the sort of dashboard for Arizona State University, and we have single sign-in access to that. This takes us out to the public page, and then we have an online professional development catalog, which is a registration system for professional learning. So I wanted to show you one example quickly of collaboration and sharing of resources within the different within a different program. So for instance, if we go within our Teaching Foundations project, this is a project that is reforming 40 courses. It has membership from excuse me, it has membership from K12 school districts, from community colleges, as well as from the Teachers College within Arizona State University and the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences. So it's a cross collaboration within the university as well. So within this space, they needed the calendar, they had information they wanted to share out particular to them. But then they also had a subgroup, and this is another way that we've sort of divided up and worked with the structure. And so within this subgroup, they had folks that were actually piloting the courses. So within the piloting of the courses, they wanted to take everybody that was a member of that one group and bring them in and provide them resources specifically to the second group. Right down to those who were just piloting, so that subgroup. The first semester they used this when they were doing this, and you can look here, we had English courses, math courses. This is how they provided their feedback to one another. So in terms of staying online and saying, I've tried this course that was developed by this set of people, and how did it work first week, second week, and they shared ideas back and forth as they were piloting. So it was a really good space for them, and they were using, again, they were using discussion boards. Jim or Dom had asked what they were using. They were using discussion boards to share their information with how their implementation of a course was going. Again, what's nice about this is because now we're in our second semester of piloting, the people that are piloting this semester can go back and read all the discussion that went about the course that they did from that first semester. So that collaboration continues as new people are trying courses, they're reading feedback, they can communicate with those doing right now, but they also can share with those who had gone before. So I'm going to go back to the Adobe presenter screen now. I can see the chat. So there is one way about sharing that information. And again, its key is that it's information being shared from multiple parties. That's why we're not going with the website, and that's important. So all those collaborations, all those conversations are archived. Because we're a research institution, we actually use the data from those, both qualitative and quantitative, in our research, and because we're a grant, we use it in terms of our evaluation. So we can harvest content from those, plus provide them to the whole collaborative group in terms of access to those resources in an ongoing manner. So we share, collaborate with K12 at the districts. I talked to you about the Chinle one. We share and collaborate across programs. This ongoing dialogue is another piece. So in terms of what were the needs for those? Well, we had professional development. And in professional development, we had folks doing face-to-face, but they wanted to continue to have those conversations over time from that face-to-face, to share in those dialogues, to continue to collaborate in building ideas. So we developed and we used what we're calling within our ORC work groups and courses, which is just a different way of actually using Moodle almost kind of straight up. In the communities, we blend it with Drupal, but within our courses and our work groups, we sort of use a straight up version of Moodle, and I'll show you that in a minute. So we wanted to have those continuing conversations, posting reflections from the professional learning, submitting follow-up documents to get feedback from others that took courses or participated in professional learning. For that, we brought in the LMS side, so the actual Moodle straight up I said, and some document sharing. We've integrated Google as well, so we have folks that are posting resources that are in Google, so people can add that way. Got some great feedback in my last session about, and we're in Moodle 1.9, I should have told you that. We're going to move to 2.0 later this summer, but I heard from one of the participants that there's a great plugin for Google within 2.0, so I'm looking forward to using that to share an additional tool. We also wanted a way to provide 24/7 professional learning networks so people can talk with each other anytime that they want and collaborate with each other. We support specific structures within our school reform program, again, which was TAP, and we needed these inclusive environments, and you can see then what the technology tools we pulled in. So I'm going to go ahead and switch back now so I can show you some examples. We're going to take a look at the virtual colloquium caboodle, which is a type of professional development that we do, and I will talk to you about that. That really addresses this first area and how we allow people to collaborate with K12 folks to collaborate with excuse me with with ASU faculty. So let's take a look at that. I'm going to go and share my screen again. So we're going to have a little jumping around within the Adobe Connect. Okay, so I'm going to go back to a member community. Again, I'm in the Drupal side. Whenever I'm navigating between communities, work groups and such, I'm working on the Drupal side of our sort of mashup environment here. And so I showed you communities, and that's sort of the mashup. Then we use sort of a direct version of a Moodle. And I'm scrolling down. These are all the workshops and courses that we support. But I wanted to show you this one that really brings together our connection between ASU faculty and K12 teachers. So this particular instance, we have faculty members who have expertise. Excuse me. We recruit them. This particular one is Dr. Gary Bitter, who's on the EdTech side of the world, and we work with him. What are his outcomes? What is content they provide us? The faculty person provides us with content for the K12 teachers, leadership, and actually we have a lot of graduate students who participate in these as well. And they can do some pre-event investigation. Then we bring that ASU person in, the expert in, for a live conversation, either with Adobe Connect. We tried it. We've tried Callflower, so we're trying to land on our solution for next semester. But that person comes in and really has a conversation. There's a PowerPoint, but most importantly is we tried to engage folks online in participating in that conversation. We're finding that they're a bit resistant to that. They like to get on and listen, but in terms of posting questions to them and other things, that's not happening as much. But we're working on facilitating that. I think that's just a comfort level with teachers engaging in this type of learning. We follow up then that live session with we're bringing in an expert K12 practitioner. This particular one is Charlotte LaBelle. So we have this collaboration of the faculty member with an expert teacher that's in the classroom. They come together and then they support the participants as they go through a a learning experience in terms of applying what they've learned into their context. And during that time frame while they're doing that, they're supported both by the faculty member and by the K12 expert. Mostly by the K12 expert, but we do have some of the faculty members that are willing to come in and listen. So we have this particular one focused on iPad apps. We've had one that's on secondary education. Excuse me if I make you dizzy as I scroll through my my long list here. We've had one, student success and personal and digital literacies. That was a combination of a K-12 high school English teacher who's also a doctoral student and a faculty member. And then we've had another one which was on geoliteracy, and that was a faculty member engaging with K-12 folks. And so a lot of, we're just starting this particular series. We're going to do full force in the fall. But this is an example of how we encourage that ongoing dialogue. We also have space that we have supporting people in the United States. We're going through an initiative, a nationwide initiative called Common Core, which might seem into other countries that we don't have a national curriculum. This is the closest we've sort of ever come to a national curriculum, is this Common Core. And within the state of Arizona, districts are struggling to figure out how to work with these new standards, as they're quite different in terms of pedagogy and philosophy from our regular standards. So we have, in this particular environment, we're supporting 13 districts, and you can see again there's a different layout here. It's flexible. They can add their own content by adding blocks on the right hand side. It's simple. We are staying with simple environments, because again, I create the space, but we allow and require actually the people that are out in the K-12 system for this one to input the content. So we overlook membership, and they own the content. So you have a multiple group of people here that are putting the content into it. This is a good example of when I'm talking about the archiving the conversation. So these folks meet face-to-face once a month. They wanted a space to continue that, to share particular resources, but they also wanted a space where people could upload different content. So here, for example, is two people that belong, or one person that belongs to this group, actually two people that belong to this group, that have posted content. So here is a way that anybody, not just the people that have admin access or instructor access, can add content into the system. And this particular teacher, Lois, has added an example of what they're doing within kindergarten. So this may seem unusual, you know, so what? They're sharing documents. Well, in the K-12 world, this is actually not done much within the United States, the sharing between districts. So in fact, they had to come up with a policy that you can see at the top here that sort of gave people within those districts permission to collaborate, you know, to actually share their resources, to put them up there and post them and put them out for the other people within the groups to see. So this is a huge cultural shift that we're supporting here within the sharing of these environments. So by the sort of two different versions, you can see that we're trying to use Moodle in multiple ways, and try to bring varieties of collaborations within the space. So I'm going to leave this one in particular. I'm going to return back to the Adobe Connect presentation. So I see that people are making comments, which is wonderful. So I want to take a second and take a look at those. Jim, it is one thing the global world is forcing us into collaboration, kicking, screaming, whatever way we want to go. And so I think that is interesting that it's not just here in the United States. Actually, that's comforting that it's not just here. Has there been a good uptake of the sharing of the resources? Actually, yes. And that last example that I showed you in particular, once they got the permission from the leadership within the district to share, they've been quite excited about sharing. And that's great. That's really been great to see that they've been out there posting resources. We're actually getting ready to initiate a new space for collaboration. It's called a professional learning library that we are encouraging people to upload across the online resource center, not just within that small collaborative I showed you, on different resources. And it is a cultural shift. I showed you that example and the information sharing with the ASU faculty. That was huge to get them to come outside of themselves to develop a course collectively, and I'm going to show you that in the next screen. But getting them to think that way was huge as well. And so you know, it's a cultural shift, and you build an environment, and just because you build it doesn't mean they're coming, but then you make them so they can see a need for it, and once they start to see a need for it, it makes a big difference. I have a key example of this is that we have one of our school systems within Arizona. We have what I think is an odd situation, is that we have within maybe a 20-minute 20-mile radius, you could have 30 different school systems. We have school systems that only have K-8 schools. We have school systems that only have high schools. We have school systems that have both. It's a really mishmash. And one of our elementary school systems, you know, we showed them the environment, and it really didn't, they couldn't see it. They couldn't, you know, they just weren't ready for it. And then I got a call from an associate superintendent last week, actually an email, that said, help. We need a space. We have 75 teachers that are working on, again, Common Core. That's a big focus here in Arizona, the United States, to collaborate over the summer. And we don't have a space. What can we do? I created an online work group, much like the one I just showed you. But she had to see the need, and that's really what we're trying to do in terms of educating our population as to how can you collaborate, and how does that really make their lives easier, less expensive, less travel, but make their lives easier. In terms of the content ownership, that's an interesting question. For the faculty, when we do the virtual colloquium, I showed you the one with Dr. Bitter, we actually have worked with our lawyers and have them sign over the rights to that, not sign over, but share with us the rights to that content. So we can take that content and share it out in multiple ways. Of course, they still own it. We give them credit for authorship, but we do allow that sharing. The same thing will go for anything within the professional learning library, that it can be shared, but the author still sort of owns it, so there's joint usage of it. We've had multiple conversations with school systems that what happens to the content if the system goes away. Another way of using, nice reason for using Moodle is that we can, you know, export those files and they can import them into their own the LMS systems later. But all the content would go back out to the original authors. And that's, excuse me, a part of the conversation we have when people are joining and people are sharing. We do have the capability to host private professional development. We haven't talked about that as much in communities, so that if a district wants to create a partnership, wants to create communities that are just for them, we can do that for them. Then of course that content is theirs. We're a venue, but anytime you go out into our sharing spaces, where there's multiple districts, then we do expect that the content is shared, and everybody within those spaces that it's been shared with can use it. Oops. So in terms of collaborative development, really where we've seen that the most is within our TFP project, where we had those folks coming from multiple districts into creating courses. And I'm going to show you an example of one of those. In this particular instance, it's going to be a social studies course that was developed by multiple folks. Community college and U.S. and Arizona faculty. Again, I'm sorry if I'm making you dizzy by scrolling down through here quickly with my long list. I'm trying to get to my social studies class here. So let's see. So we have this particular course, which was created by, and I'm going to show you in a minute, by a set of faculty. This particular one doesn't have the Vitas in there, but they're created by 3 or 4 faculty. They put the content in these shells. They're not taught online. This is purely for sharing the content out with piloting people that are teaching these courses face to face, and they want to use their resources. So we have the faculty, different faculty members create these courses. They post all their content. We have external evaluators that come in. So again, we're trying to go with a more transparent view, which is really quite different in terms of the course development at the university level. So we're having a lot of people take a look at a course. They're giving feedback and having discussion. So in this particular one, it looks like this Diane Godfrey might be the only person who is teaching it this semester. But they're posting and adding content, or this past semester. We're in summer school right now. So this is one way for that development. So they're developing these. What we're seeing most of right now is that this development via sharing back and forth, not necessarily dynamic development. And I'm going to go back to Adobe Connect. Not necessarily dynamic development in terms of using Google Docs to create documents simultaneously, although I think we're going to move in that direction more. In fact, with this one project from that associate superintendent, she wants people moving from their community into Google, co-creating documents, and then sharing those documents out. And that will just simply, because we don't have the plugin, will be shared out using the links, and so anybody can access those links. So in terms of those different types of uses and sharing and collaborating, I'm really interested if you guys, you, Jim, Dom, Shane for that matter, know of other resources or have done many things like this. Actually, Jim, Jim, thanks you for your question. Jim's asking, do we use any non-core plugins in Moodle? And the answer to that is no, and that's basically because of my ignorance. I hate to say that. One of the reasons I'm participating in iMoot is to learn more about what we can do. So I'm looking forward to being able to use the Google plugin. We really haven't done much else. If you know of tools that you think would really be supportive or that you've had success with supporting collaboration, be glad to hear them. And continue to investigate those. So my participation here is really sort of to kick off that sort of new ways of using it and taking advantage of what's happening out in the Moodle sphere, so to speak. So Dom is saying that he's used Moodle in collaboration, Google in collaboration, but not in Moodle yet. Yeah, we've used Google for a long time. In fact, even within the Online Resource Center, we use a lot of Google Forms. That's one that has been highly successful for us, particularly in sharing and being collaborative in data collection. Because we can use the space within the ORC in that Moodle environment as to the aggregator for bringing different resources together, we can have the links out not only to the form but also to the spreadsheet and share that spreadsheet so multiple people can look at the data as it's coming in and really collaborate on the analysis of that data and what we can really do with that data. So we've tried to use Google in multiple ways, and we'll continue to investigate that. You're right, Jim. It is about finding the right tools. I do know that we are currently working on moving 160 face-to-face workshops into online professional development modules delivered within Moodle. So we have about 8 different instructional designers that are taking different modules, and they're looking at, we have some mind mapping plugins that folks are looking at that we could use those tools, and I'm excited about and being able to investigate those. So it really is a matter of the more people that can look at what we're doing, the more we can share out. Additional features of the Online Resource Center, again, and this is part of the Drupal mashup, is our professional development registration system. We can actually take in money through that, and if we want to charge, but mostly for registration and completion of certificates. I'm sorry, I was just pausing there and reading Shane's comment. You're right, Shane, and what we're learning is, you know, we think of things, we meaning people that are creating these spaces, and we're way out ahead of the game in terms of our normal users. So it is a fine balance between what else can we put in there to engage and how far ahead are we of our users, and we want to push them in their practice and their engagement, but we don't want to lose them. And it is a fine balance. So you do have to continue with environments that are usable, comfortable, but you also want to show them new ways of thinking and new ways of collaborating. We do provide web hosting for the media within our content, and we offer that to school systems as well that are collaborating. We do a lot with Adobe Presenter because that's an easy way for us to work with them in terms of adding voice to the content. So we host those for them. That, again, of course, is right into the interactive presentations. And with that, we've learned different ways to embed those within Moodle. We've done a lot of troubleshooting on these kinds of things. And trying to find the best ways to embed. What we have to stay away with from in the United States is in the school systems, they block things like YouTube and Vimeo. So while we can embed those within Moodle easily, it just becomes non-accessible to our students, and so they can't even, our learners can't even access them. We do have single sign-on to other environments. We're building a data dashboard, and we have single sign-on going into that. So those are some additional features. That mostly then, of course, you can tell, minus the top one, which is online professional development hosting, is really on the Drupal side of our space. So when we talk with districts, when we talk with colleges within the university, we say, really, what are your needs? And then think of how the different ways Moodle can support that, Drupal can support that, other technologies can support that, both for collaboration and professional learning. And we try to come up with then solutions that we can share within this one sort of collaborative space, the Online Resource Center, so that they can access them anytime, anywhere. In terms of supporting formal and informal professional learning. So I said that really we're a conduit for collaboration, and we're also this conduit for sharing and sort of really collaborating in formal and informal learning. So we provide collections of resources. We've created collections using Moodle shells of resources on a particular topic. Sort of the virtual colloquium that I showed you with Dr. Bitter is both a collaborative effort, but also a collection of resources that can be shared and can be accessed at any time. And we really are, we just talked with our dean. Our dean is interested in how can we support faculty development. So now there's another level, and you know, one way of supporting faculty development is connecting them to the K12 market and having them collaborate with them. Another way is providing with their own professional learning and collaborative spaces. We just got, we just created a collection within the ORC of all the syllabi from all the courses taught in the Teachers College for the fall semester. And that's the first time that they've all been put together in one space, so everybody could take a look at them, and maybe they'll start collaborating on syllabi. I see that Shane has posted a comment question. Curious from a support point of view, is it a problem with so many different systems upgrading them? Actually, what we're doing, and it's really exciting, is that we were on the Arizona State University server farm, and their new information officer wanted to stop being in the hosting business, which threw us off for a bit because that was free. So, but we've recently contracted with Unicon to go into, which is a local system, to go into their server farm, and so we're paying for maintenance. And so what they're doing is they're maintaining multiple pieces of it that support the system. We also have, and we use solar as part of our system for our system for searching within our professional learning library. Yeah, I agree, Jim. Free is good. Unfortunately, we've lost that connect, so we have to worry about sustainability, which is why open source resources are great, because we actually don't then have to pay the licensing fee for the software. We're just working with supporting the maintenance system. So, you know, it's some free. We're a mashup of free and not free, although you get what you pay for. So our new system will be up and ready more often than it was prior to that. There is a cost of ownership, Shane, and you're correct. And that for us is we're willing to pay more by going to the external hosting service, so that we have that service, that we can go with upgrades. We also, the reason we haven't moved to 2.0 yet within for Moodle is that we were really embedded with another system within the university, because the university had created this online system. And now we are sort of decoupling from that, and that allows us a lot of freedom. So while it's not free any longer, we can do things that we couldn't do prior, such as upgrade to Moodle 2.0 and do some additional development. Well, folks, so that's really in terms of what we're doing and how we're trying to support multiple levels of collaboration between multiple organizations. That's sort of the snapshot view of that. I really would be interested in collaborations that you are doing, any particular tools that you might be using within Moodle or even outside of Moodle that we can connect into to support collaboration across these multiple institutions. Or any other questions in general that you may have at this time, Dom or Jim or Shane. I see that Jim is typing a question, so I'm just sort of being silent as we're waiting for that. I did try to open up the microphones in my last session, and we had issues with that. Again, just from people talking over each other, because you know that's a hard piece to do. So if there, Dom, I see posted a question. I was hoping to hear how you encourage teachers to get on board. Was it tied in with PD? Great question, Dom. Really what we found is that there has to be a legitimate need. So if you're posting resources, and this seems like a of course kind of thing, but just creating an environment and saying, hey, you can come here, you can share, you can dialogue with each other, really wasn't working. We sort of had to have call to actions. So we've posted certain content, particularly with our K12 partners. Certain content information is only posted within the online resource center within these environments. So they have to go there to collect that information. We also are working diligently to continue to put additional content into it, so that every time somebody goes, there's something new, there's a new resource there to be shared. We also are looking at how do we get more people to add content. I was interested in the gamification concept. We're working here at Arizona State University. We have a Center for Gaming and Impact under Sasha Barab, who has just started that center. And he's if you don't know of him, he's into educational gaming from learning, and having conversations with him about gamification of professional development. And there was that resource on there. So there was also a presentation on that within iMoot. So we're looking at different ways of encouraging people, rewarding them for sharing resources. PD is one way, Dom, is we connect it to what we do with them face-to-face, have an online connection to that, but also with these new modules, these 160 modules that we're going to be posting that are video embedded. They can take them for professional development credit if they want, or they can take them just for their own learning and not needing that professional development credit. We're hoping as we build out these resources and share them with people and actually go out there and show them what's going on, that will get more and more participation. We also have a large group of teachers coming in because they're going to be accessing a data dashboard for our sister grant. And so we have 2,500 new career teachers, as we call them, but our classroom teachers that are coming in. And what we're hoping to do then is to show them other things that are available. We also are constantly interested in developing new partnerships. So, you know, Dom, Jim, not sure where you guys are, but with my last group, I'm going to, that I did the presentation on Sunday, there are people that were interested in continuing conversations. I'm going to create a community within the Online Resource Center to support this idea of online examples in discussion. So if you're interested, I can add you to that as well. I'll send you information on it, and you know, if that's something that intrigues you, we can take a look at it. But we're also interested in doing any other kind of partnerships and collaboration. So if there's an availability for that within your organization, you know, shoot me an email and we can explore that as well. So it doesn't just have to stay within our state and our university. We're definitely interested in collaborating with folks outside of those parameters as well. So Dom or Shane, do you any other questions that you may have? Oh, interesting, Shane. It might be interesting. Shane is saying that he supports collaboration. Um, you know, maybe we can continue that conversation. Maybe there are ways for us to collaborate and and connect people globally and not just within our own space. And we're certainly open to that. I understand your challenges, Shane, of going between different universities and schools. It's exciting, though. You know, really, we're at a point where people are sharing, and that hasn't really been the case traditionally, and so it's thrilling for me. Well, thank you, Dom. I do appreciate your participation. And if you do come up with questions later, you can always post them within the discussion board in iMoot, or you can shoot me an email. I've shared my PowerPoint both in, I can't remember the slide sharing site, but also here, but feel free to contact me. You're most welcome. So I'm here if anybody else has questions until I don't know when we have to disconnect Shane from the recording, but I think that's really the bulk of the presentation and the content. If anything else comes up, I'll stay on for another 5-10 minutes, and then we'll say adieu.
Well, hi Heidi, it's Shane here.
Hi.
Well, basically, just want to say on behalf of the iMoot team, thank you for presenting, and it's obviously a little less rushed this time, so
Yes.
very much appreciate that. I got to sit in and, even for me, I actually got to sit in and listen a bit more this time. There wasn't so much
Okay.
happening in the other presentation, so it was good to actually hear what you had to say and about the collaborations and so on.
Thank you.
Cool. Yeah. So I'll stop the recording now.